In this video, I'm going to review all the civilizations in Civ 4 and look at their unique units and unique buildings. If you're looking for a specific country, check out the description for links. Remember that you can do things to support my channel and get more content. So, all the countries have unique units and unique buildings. They also have leaders, but I'm not going to be talking about them right now. They also have starting technologies, but I don't think I'm going to be talking about that right now. So I'm going to be talking about the unique units and the unique buildings to make up these countries. So, yeah, there's a little bit of them. First off is America, the American Empire. They have Navy SEALs and Mauls. So Navy SEAL costs 160. Annoyingly, we're gonna have to do this for all of them to see what the base unit costs. Make sure that the base unit is not different. So Marine is 160 cost on normal. Strength is 240. Movement is 1. 50 attack versus machine gun, 50 attack versus artillery, and amphibious. Okay, so replaced by Navy SEAL. And the difference here is we get March, and we get 1 to 2 first strikes. So March is pretty good. This and also, actually the 1 to 2 first strikes is also going to be pretty good. So a Marine is really good later in the game because you can put them on boats, and then that makes them very fast, and then you can attack cities that are on the coast, and you don't have any negative combat odds or any hindrance because you are coming off of a boat because you're amphibious. And so that can be pretty good to actually try to take some cities on the coast that aren't well defended. You know, you can march your stack of death through enemy territory, and they will normally fortify, add more troops to a city that you are headed towards. And that can be a big costly battle, whereas with Marines you can go to a city and actually just attack it real quick. So March is really helpful for this because and I've actually given, I believe I have actually given Marines March in the past, because this can be really helpful for Marines trying to do this, because it means that they can heal up quicker. They get to heal up on the turn that they move. So you can attack a city on the turn that you move and then heal up. You know, you make the boat have like medic 1 or something, and it heals up the units, and you can just keep attacking. And the 1 to 2 first strikes are actually really helpful too, in case you can't weaken the enemy units too much. So normally what I do is I have a transport with the 4 Marines and then some carriers with a bunch of jet fighters, and I will use the jet fighters and also some battleships or missile cruisers to destroy the defenses of the city, and then weaken the units with the jet fighters, and then come in with the Marines and take out the troops real quick. It can be a real shock kind of warfare, where you can just kind of take the enemy by surprise, and having March to heal up quicker so that you can then move these units to another city pretty quickly, and the 1 to 2 first strikes makes it a lot easier to try and do that. So these are pretty good units in terms of the benefits that they get. However, you are getting them pretty late in the game. And Navy SEALs are pretty weak. Marines and Navy SEALs are pretty weak. They only have a strength of 24. They are the strongest unit when you first get them, although infantry are going to have a 25% boost against gunpowder units like Navy SEALs. However, shortly after that, you're going to have mechanized infantry, and you can't upgrade these guys to mechanized infantry. I think that they would be a lot better if you could upgrade them to mechanized infantry, and they would have more usefulness. But there's only like a short time when they're actually very good, and then after that, you need a lot of jet fighters to try and take down the enemy, and then the enemy's going to have their own jet fighters, and you have to develop air superiority first. But they can be quite good. It's just gonna come in pretty late as well. But by this era, the game is normally already decided. Though, you know, if it's close, there could be a good edge. Similarly, the Maul is gonna come in kind of late. It requires refrigeration. You do get a 20% boost to gold, and I like building Mauls because of that +1 food. I guess I like building supermarkets normally. So it costs the same, but the differences are you're going to get 20% boost to wealth and +1 happiness from these guys. The hit musicals, hit singles, and hit movies. I guess, you know, whatever. If you actually have these things, that's probably fine. I doubt you're gonna have much happiness problems later in the game anyways. But plus 20% wealth, that can be pretty big. You know, it definitely makes the cost of these seem a lot more worth it. And I normally like to build them anyways, because, you know, at that point you are normally dealing with a lot of healthiness problems, so you could really use the healthiness to offset the factories and the coal plants. +1 food is really nice, and then getting an extra 20% gold on top of that really can come a long way. I believe that's the largest buff to gold that a building can see, you know, off the base. We'll see later with like a stock exchange and from the English and a mint from the Malinese, but I don't think those bonuses are as big. Alright, so Camel Archer replaces a Knight. They both cost 90, but you'll notice, big difference here, Camel Archer doesn't require any resources. Knights are going to need horses and iron. Camel Archer doesn't. That's huge. This is the only change, but that's pretty huge if you don't have these resources. It basically means that you can have these. And the Knight is a really, really good unit. And it stays a good unit until basically until riflemen show up. Even grenadiers can have difficulty with knights. So, you know, when the Knight first comes on the scene, this will probably be like one of your best units. You know, you can use them to attack cities with longbows. You know, you come in with a stack of knights and trebuchets. Now you can do that without any iron or horses. So that is really, really big. And it comes at a time when you know, you want to be launching war. So they are obviously they're not any good or any different if you already have the resources though. So it can be kind of niche. I mean, you're gonna be struggling without iron anyways, and I guess there's a chance that you don't have horses, and then I guess there's a big question of what you do with them if you don't have horses. You know, because you can't upgrade them to cuirassiers or cavalry. I don't know how to say this. Cuirassier? Sure. But you know, you basically have, if you don't have horses, you have to wait until gunships to upgrade these, and then they're kind of dead weight. But I mean, they do have a 15% withdrawal chance. So maybe if you don't have horses, you give them flanking, and you try and just use them to, you know, whittle units down without dying. Because 15% plus 30%, that's a 45% chance of surviving every single time you attack, if they're going to be dead weight anyways. So, I mean, you're probably better off with a cannon if you have iron. But I guess if you don't have iron, you're not going to have cannons either. So, then these could be a replacement for trying to whittle down the enemy. Admittedly, a very costly replacement, though. Okay, madrasas. It's gonna give +2 extra culture. I don't think that's a big deal at all. You know, if you're going for a lot of culture, +2 isn't gonna make or break it. Really, the difference. Does it cost anything? No, it doesn't cost anything different. Really, the big difference with this is you get to turn 2 citizens into priests as well as scientists. That can be really big if you want to go for religion or already have a religion. Instead of having to build temples, which only give 1 citizen, you can get 2 citizens for a priest, so you can try and get that priest really quickly, and also construct a building that you're probably going to be building anyways. Early game, especially on Marathon, you're going to be building at least some libraries, and then you can get priests out of that. If you combine this with Angkor Wat, the wonder, that is a wonder, Angkor Wat right here, +1 production from priests. These turn priests into better citizens to work than engineers. Engineers give +2 production, priests give +1 gold, +1 production. With Angkor Wat, you get priests to be +2 production and +1 gold, so they're really great citizens to work at that point. And then the problem becomes, like, where do you even have access to priests? If you just have temples, that's only 1 per city. But if you have madrasas, you can turn 2 citizens in every city into a priest, and that's probably more than sufficient. So this is a pretty good building. Probably not one of the best ones by any means, but definitely helpful. Aztec, Jaguar. I will just say the Jaguar sucks. It replaces a swordsman. It's a little less expensive. You know, thank God, because I definitely wouldn't want to be paying a lot for this. Still get your +10 city attack, which woohoo. But that's not going to be going very far with a strength of 5, and you're going to be weak to axemen. Swordsmen are good because they have a strength of 6, and you know, they're pretty easy to get compared to horse archers, which are really the only other unit at the time that could have a strength of 6. So you know, you get a swordsman, you give him city attack, you get a few of these guys, you can really cause some damage. You're not going to be doing that with a Jaguar. Woodsman 1, you get +20% jungle defense. I don't think that even matters. I guess if you have 5 experience, you can get 5 experience from a barracks and theocracy or vassalage. Then you can turn it into a Woodsman 3 with +2 first strikes, and heals units in the same tile for an extra 15%. That's better than a Medic 1. I'd still rather have Swordsman, though, rather than a 15% boost. It means that basically your only attacking unit is an Axeman. And your only defense against a horse archer is a spearman, which if someone invades you with a horse archer and an axeman, you have nothing that can actually repel that, because you can't use an axeman to try and beat that off, because the axeman will die to the horse archer. You can't use a spearman because it dies to the axeman. You can't use this useless thing because it'll die to the axeman. You have to meet them with horse archers, and then if they have a spearman, then there's nothing you can do, and the AI can just bully you. So that is a really terrible unit, but I guess it makes up for it with the sacrificial altar that the Aztec have. This is really great. It costs 90 production instead of 120, and courthouses on more difficult gameplays are really, really good, especially if you play wide. With lots of cities, you're going to need courthouses on higher difficulties, because the maintenance cost and the inflation will kill you. You cannot support a large empire without courthouses, and they're actually a pretty costly building to construct, but not when they are, what is that, a quarter cheaper. This makes it a lot easier. The espionage points alone can justify this, much less the maintenance cost. If you build this, it takes 90 production, and then if you value these espionage points at 1 production, which early in the game you definitely can, because if you have excess production, what can you do with it? You can build soldiers, which may make sense depending on how advanced technologically you are. But maybe the best thing that you can do is just building wealth to try and save your economy. That's only a 1-to-1 replacement. You get 1 wealth for every production you have. Well, it only costs 90 production, and then it gives you 2 espionage points. And you can use those espionage points to steal technology from your neighbors, and this will basically pay itself off in 45 turns. And then everything after that is just improving your economy. And then that's not even counting the maintenance cost. The maintenance cost will add even more gold, which is really good. And that's just talking about a courthouse in general. Obviously the courthouse is a little bit more expensive, but the courthouse alone justifies itself being built. But then you lower the cost of it, amazing. And then you have minus 50% anger duration from sacrificing population. This is incredible, because it means that you can whip twice as often, and essentially that means that you can get twice the amount of production from your food reserves and your cities. You can really produce a lot of stuff with a bread economy using this tactic. You can build soldiers. This applies to nationhood too with drafting. So if you get riflemen with drafting, you can just start popping them off. This is a really, really good building. And it applies very much in the early game, which, if you're on deity, that's when the game is decided. Early game, if you can fix your country and gain an advantage, this is going to help you do it. Babylonian. Okay, so what do we get here? We get a bowman. Is that cheaper? That is not cheaper. What it gets is, I believe that all these are the same with an archer. Yes, you get first strike, city defense, and hills defense. So a bowman gets plus 50% melee versus melee units. You are not going to be using this for attack, I guess, unless your opponent has archers, or if your opponent only has warriors. If that's the case, these could be good for combat, but you're never going to attack with these, because they just have to put a mounted unit, or an enemy archer, and then they can beat you. An axeman actually still can beat this, because 50% is only going to increase you to 4.5 as opposed to an axeman's strength of 5. So really what this does is it makes it better at defending. But I mean, honestly, if someone attacks you when you only have archers, you might just get wrecked anyways. So, I don't know, maybe it can make it cheaper to defend your country if you're at war early in the game. But I don't see a lot of application for this. I guess maybe if like you're on a hill, this can work. Maybe you don't have to build as many axemen. Just a bowman and a spearman can handle it, or 2 bowmen and a spearman can handle a big stack. But I don't see a lot going on with that. Garden replaces Colosseum. It's not cheaper. You still get the same stuff. What you get is healthiness bonus. And early in the game, I don't think that there's much of a problem with healthiness. So I'm not, I hardly ever build Colosseums because it's only +1 happiness, and it's actually a fairly costly building if you're not a creative leader. Getting +2. I mean, is this cheaper than an aqueduct? How much is an aqueduct? It's 100. So I guess instead of aqueducts, you can build this first and get a +1 happiness. I don't really build that many aqueducts early in the game. I don't really build that many Colosseums early in the game. This seems like it kind of adds a building that might be worth it. But it's not that much better. And it requires construction. I don't normally focus down construction, especially if your special, your unique unit is a bowman. You're not going to be super interested in going to war with your all-powerful bowman. So you're not going to be trying to get construction very quickly. So you're probably not going to get construction very soon, and this isn't going to matter in the very early game when you're trying to save your country. Not very impressed with Babylon, gotta say. Alright, Byzantium. Byzantium has a cataphract. This replaces a knight. Knight has a cost of 90. And is immune to first strikes. It looks like the cataphract is not immune to first strikes. However, it has a strength of 12. This is a really good unit. I already talked about how knights are going to be used as one of the most powerful units early. I guess in the late medieval era, you're going to be fighting longbows. You put them with a trebuchet, and they can do some damage against cities. I mean, it doesn't even matter if they have pikemen. You use the trebuchets to weaken the city, and then clean up with your really strong knights with the very high strength. This just makes it even easier. This is a really great unit. This might be like one of the best units, maybe after the Praetorian. There's not much to say about it because it gets the bonus is pretty simple. Not being immune to first strikes, I don't think that's a huge deal. I mean, longbows are going to have first strikes, but they should be pretty weak from the trebuchets anyways. Like, you're not going to be just using these. You actually could. You actually could try and take cities with just cataphracts and no trebuchets, but you probably want to use trebuchets as well. And in that case, I don't think it's much of a concern. It likely just means that you don't have to use as many, which makes the war a lot cheaper. Okay, a hippodrome still costs 50, but it adds a happiness just off the bat. Whoops, clicking the wrong buttons here. Adds a happiness just off the bat, as opposed to a theater, which doesn't. It gives a happiness every 5% of culture, which I think that's kind of useless because I literally never adjust the culture slider unless I'm going for a cultural victory. And if I'm going for a cultural victory, I put the culture slider at 100%, and happiness doesn't matter anyways. And then I get +1 happiness from horse instead of die. I suppose horses are more common. But I mean, if you have die and not horses, that kind of sucks. But you do just get 1 happiness anyways, in case you don't. Very reliant on horses, the Byzantine. If you don't have horses, sounds like you basically got screwed out of all these special things. But very powerful if you do. Okay, Carthage. Carthage, we get a Numidian cavalry. Numidian cavalry, strength of 5 instead of 6. Not cheaper, so the cost is 50. Same technology is required. Looks like we're both immune to first strikes. Still the 20% withdrawal chance. Basically, we just get 50%. It's melee new. It starts with flanking 1. What is flanking 1? Oh, plus 10% withdrawal chance. Okay, so they're all going to be 30%. I suppose that's a little bit of a buff, but this is better than a horse archer. I mean, it's not better if you have to go against archer units or other horse archers, because then you just down, was that like 17% of your strength? 1/6. Which, you know, if you're attacking cities, that's what you're doing. So maybe this isn't that good. If someone invades you with only melee units, that's good. You can probably fend them off. But geez, horse archers are so expensive, and they come at a really awkward time in the game. Because you have to like research that tech just for them. When you could be doing something else, like, I don't know, getting iron working, or alphabet, or currency. It's not a very valuable tech. I mean, even construction, that's like better. I guess you get, if you have elephants, you know that you'll need horseback riding to use the war elephant, so maybe you can justify getting it sooner. But then you need horses and elephants. I don't know. I'm not too impressed with that. A Kothon, or a Kothan, replaces harbor. Kothan is actually more expensive than the harbor. So let's hope it's pretty good. What does it get? It gets an extra trade route for 100 production. Yeah, that makes this pretty good. Yeah, that makes this really good. A trade route is minimum 2 gold. When you trade with, I guess it's really minimum 1 gold if you don't have any islands. But if you do have an island to trade with, or an AI to trade with, it's 2 gold. You can build a city on your island, and all your cities will trade with it for a minimum of 2 gold now. And if you have AI to trade with, AI trade routes are a minimum of 2 gold, and 2 gold will cover this in 50 turns. Um, I guess that would be 150 turns on deity, but this is a pretty early building, so you can probably do that. It's only good on the coast, which sucks. And normally, not all your cities are going to be building harbors normally. Only the really big ones that would want extra trade routes, more extra trade route money, and the extra happiness. So not the best in the world. Next part coming out soon. In the meantime, try to interact with me.